Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Cutting Edge Figure Skating Podcast. My name is Kim Dunaway, and in this episode, I will be doing my third season's best list of the 2024-25 season, and I'll be doing the pairs. And if you listen to the podcast, you know that pairs is my favorite discipline, and so this should be my favorite season's best list to compile. Felt like this season was a little slim pickings with the programs this season. So I made a couple of exceptions for this particular list to fill it out to 10 really strong programs. Ultimately, I'm happy with my list. I would have loved to have made it a top 15, but it just wasn't those kind of seasons. Maybe the Olympic season will bring a little bit more in terms of great choreography and great programs. But let's kick it off with a couple of honorable mentions. And so a couple of programs did not make my list, but I did want to recognize them. So the first one is Alicia Ephamova and Michael Wozniak from Poland. And this is their short program to Moderation from Florence and the Machines. Really great piece of music. I don't think I've ever heard of Florence and Machine songs that I don't like. I really like the beginning. The choreography that they have at the beginning, the music just kind of really sets the tone. I like the entry that they do in their side-by-side spins. I think they by far have the coolest entry into a group 3 lift. It's an entry that you see like Desmogé and Le Mercier do and Lemon Kwan do, and then they press up into a lift and they have a great ending pose. It's a really fun routine. I think that both of them are just a little bit stiff, so it didn't quite make the list. But again, I wanted to recognize them because I did really enjoy their short program. Also wanted to send an honorable mention to Leah Pereira and Trip Michaud of Canada for their short program to Sing, Sing, Sing. It's probably the most improved program of the season. I was not a fan of this program in the fall at all. They really put a lot of work in after the Grand Prix season and even a new costume, and it was much improved in the second half of the season. Really thought they had a nice, fun spread eagle moment right before their side-by-side triple toes and some little nice touches of the choreography here and there. Ultimately, it wasn't a complete package enough to make the top 10 list, but enough to at least get them an honorable mention in my list this season. So on to the 10 programs that made my list. Starting at number 10 is Rebecca Gilardi and Filippo Ambrosini of Italy, and this was their short program to Tango Roxanne. They are pretty much staples on my season's best list. They've been on every single season. This is definitely the lowest that they've ever been on my season's best list, and this was not their best season either. And I'm not sure that we ever really saw the full potential of this program. It has a lot to live up to just because this is a very overused piece of music. That being said, it's not really used in pair skating much at all, which is always puzzling to me. We see it a lot in singles, but it's a tango, like it's meant to be skated by two people. They have some really great moments in this program. Their throw is like right on the music. I'll probably say that a lot because I feel like a lot of the programs that I selected really use the accents of the music really well in their choreography. They have another great example, kind of like the Polish team, with a really great kind of dance style lift where they press into a full pair lift. They have a great exit out of that lift. Also, I think the spiral position is unfortunate. It's probably the only thing I don't really like in the program at all, although that was kind of the case with a lot of pairs short programs this season, because this particular death spiral they did this season was just hard for pretty much everybody to do. I feel like it's hard to make Tango Roxanne really work in a short program because it's a longer piece of music. It's just shy of 5 minutes. It's a great piece of music to use for a free skate. In a short program, it's a little bit tougher because you tend to have a lot of different chops to the music and it doesn't blend together really well like some other tango type of musics do. I think that they make it work for what they're doing. Like they have a very strong step sequence. Like her knee slide in there is really cool. She flips over his back at some point. Really incredible passion, especially from her. The program was supposed to be depicting like violence of women and sort of having a piece that sort of represent how women can kind of rise above that. I don't know that a tango program really highlights that as much as maybe another piece of music would. That's a little bit more appropriate. Not that a tango isn't. It's just I don't feel like that ever really came across very strongly, and maybe they can sort of take that or another theme and really build on that in another program, because I think that they have an amazing ability to sort of bring across a message in their choreography. I just didn't think that this was necessarily the vehicle for that message, in my personal opinion, even though I love the idea of it. And I love Tango Roxanne. Like, it's one of those pieces of music, yes, we hear a lot, but I don't really get tired of it because it just really is a great piece of music. I love that they took it on. I just wish we could have seen them really perform all the technical elements at their best, and I think it would have helped the program overall, but they still made my season's best list. At number 9, I have Anastasia Ephamova and Luke Digby of Great Britain, and this was their short program to Lighthouse. They also have a really strong free skate to Arrival of the Birds and Carry You. Like that a lot too. Thought that the short program stood out just a little bit more than the free skate does. I think that both of their programs, they have really great emotion, but I feel like the choreography of the short program stands out a little bit more. Like, I really love the choreography that they do after their lift. Love the spread eagle that they do after her throw, and the throw is right on the music. I think their step sequence is really great. I feel like a lot of teams, it looks like they're checking off the boxes when they're in the step sequence. It feels a little forgotten. It kind of gives you an opportunity to sort of zone out from the performance, or it gives you an opportunity to really tune in and really sell the performance. And I think that they do a really good job of that. Because they had such a successful season, it brought a level of emotion to their programs that they really haven't brought before. They have at times been really excited at the end of their program because they nailed it and they were trying to get to Worlds or trying to get tech minimums and what have you. But here, the emotion that they brought in this season in both of their programs, I thought was just kind of at a different level, where they were really sort of connecting to each other and connecting to the music more so than just connecting to having a really great technical performance. So really enjoyed this piece. In Lighthouse's music that we have seen, like Tarasov and Morozov use also in pair skating. And so it's a piece of music we've seen before, but I thought they did it justice. Number 8 is a junior team, and this is Zhang and Huang of China, and this is their free skate to All for One. I really like the music. It's a piece of music called All for One by, I'm probably going to butcher it, Hail. It's choreographed by Sui Wingjing, who is, of course, reigning Olympic champion in pairs, making a comeback currently. I'll talk about that at the end. What I really love about this is it stood out just absolutely the beginning to me in the beginning of the junior season, because they were just at a completely different level than what the other junior pairs were skating at. There's a lot of in-between choreography, and their skating of really nice artistry. To me, their packaging and their choreography was so much stronger than, take a team like Pavlov and Shevchenko, for instance, or Meltik and Amberolava at times. And they're really mature for where they are at as a partnership, as well as their age. Of course, they have the trademark big Chinese throws. They do 2 side-by-side triple jumps, which is rare to see in juniors. It can be rare to see in seniors. Also, they have nice exits out of their lifts, nice speed on their spiral, great positions on their pair spin. They just have great posture the whole time. They really carry themselves with a lot of confidence. She could emote more in the face for sure. She's very young. Like I said, they're newer on the scene, but it's such a really beautiful program. And so if this is a program that you missed because you didn't see any juniors or not a lot of juniors, definitely go and tune in to this particular one. It's very strong, and it's the only junior program that made the top 10 on any of my list this season. Number 7 is Manur and Aikita of Japan, and this is their short program to Paint It Black. It was so nice to see different styles out of them, really, in both of their programs. I feel like they've been very much going to the same kind of box this entire Olympic cycle up until this season, and it was just kind of a nice breath of fresh air to have something different. It took them a while to sort of really capture the style. I felt like at Skate America, they were still kind of, used to their kind of same smiling kind of energy, and then you could see sort of the intensity increase from them throughout the season, and that also really helped their performance. They skate with a ton of speed. Like, seeing them in person at Skate America was very interesting, because they have so much more speed than what everybody else is skating with, and it really serves them well. I would love for, one of these choreographers to really find a way to highlight that even more so. Their step sequence for me is the best part of this short program. It's like once they come out of their side-by-side spins, the music sort of picks up, and it sounds to me like the Paint It Black version that they use in the Netflix show Wednesday. And it just sort of has like this sort of epic kind of feel to it, more drama in it, and they really kind of come alive in the second half. The first half is really what prevents this program from being higher in my overall rankings of the programs, because I don't feel like it's that same intensity from beginning to end, but I do really enjoy it. All right. And number 6 is another Japanese team, and this is Nagioka and Moriguchi. This is their short program to Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Some moments that I really love in this program, they are triple loops that they do, which are more difficult than pretty much what everybody else is doing in pair skating. It's right on the music. I love the choreography that they have in between their technical elements. I love the choreography that they do after the throw. Like their arm movements just match perfectly with each other. They match with the music. They bring a nice little joy that they have, and freshness and youthful energy to their skating. I think the spiral really goes well with the music. I think they have nice positions on their side spins and a great ending to the music. They just have a really nice musicality that's showcasing this really well. And I don't think that this is a style that is going to suit everybody. Not every pair team can pull off Elton John, but they do it really well. And it was so enjoyable. And they beat out their Japanese teammates on my season's best list. All right, getting into the top 5. At number 5, I have Alicia Ephamova and Misha Mitrofanov, and this is their short program to a couple of pieces of music from the Talby brothers. The first piece is a Meska, and the second piece is Ukin, maybe butchering that one as well. It's basically kind of like a flamenco style program that they're doing, straight with the flower in her hair. I love her dress that they use. Like the red underskirt just really flows with her movements throughout the program, which is really cool. They have just an incredible spiral position in just what it was, a sea of disasters, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. I think the step sequence is so great. It's like to more drum beats. Of course, the flip they do into the ending pose is just a real wow movement. It's just one of these programs that for me, what sort of sets these top 5 programs from really maybe even the top 6 programs from the rest of them is that really from the beginning to the end, it's just really packed full of really thoughtful choreography. Never felt like any of these teams waited to perform. It felt like they were performing from beginning to the end, even into throws, into their split triple twist. Like everything has a place, a purpose, and it just really works. And it's so interesting to see the contrast of styles that Alicia and Misha do between this short program and their free skate also, and they do both of them really, really well. In 4th place is another American team, and that is Ellie Cam and Danny OShea, and this is their short program to Rain in Your Black Eyes. Another piece of music that we've heard a lot in the last several seasons. It's become a bit of a warhorse, and people are really sick of it. I'm not. We're starting to actually hear different arrangements of it now, like we saw with the Morass checks in Ice Dance. But this is the classic piece of music that we've heard. Using it in a short program versus a free skate, I think is smart because it sort of limits the overexposure to the music a bit. This is one where there is not a moment in this program that is not choreographed. Every movement down to the finger has a place, and at times it almost feels like it maybe a little bit too much at times. I've talked about that throughout the season with them. Like, could we cut out a transition here or there? Would that help them with some of the technical elements, particularly the throw is what they oftentimes really struggle with. They did land the throw at Nebelhorn and at Nationals, and that was really when this program was at its best. But the amazing thing about this program is even when they had a hand down or step out on that throw, it really did not affect the quality of the program whatsoever. It was still just so extremely strong. The step sequence is just stunning. That last lift, where he presses her up from his thighs is incredible. It's a real crowd pleaser. The exit out of it is really good. And then poof, there's the end of it. There's no like side-by-side spin to sort of throw off the synchronization of that and take away from the program. Like they end on a real wow moment. And it's a really stunning piece. I think it's the best program that they have had to date as a pair. And I think it will be hard for them to outdo next season. It's one that they probably could have kept and done again in this coming season if they wanted to. I mean, I think they should change it, but it's really such a strong program. And I didn't get tired of seeing it, especially because we didn't see it clean as much as I would have liked to. But I'm glad that there were a couple of moments when we did get to see it at its best. Another short program at number 3, and this is Conti and Masci of Italy, so our second Italian team on the list. This is their short program to Carmen, which I am not usually a big fan of Carmen programs. It takes a lot for me to like a Carmen program, and even more for it to get on my season's best list. So we had 2 strong Carmen programs this season. One in Ice Dance. Didn't make my season's best list, but it was still a strong program. But this one definitely stood out really all season. I mean, Sarah is just living her best life. You can tell she really loves this program. The intensity throughout the program is really great. They use 3 different pieces of Carmen music, and at no point does it ever feel disjointed. Like I felt like you felt a little bit with Gilardi and Ambrosini's piece, their Italian teammates. A great use of the music, like the music on the throw, the music for the step sequence. It just really all works. And there's nothing quite like seeing an Italian team skate to an Italian opera, right? Like, I don't know what I like better, this one or Gilardi and Ambrosini's Barbara of Seville program from 2 years ago. Probably Gilardi and Ambrosini's Barbara of Seville. I hope both of these teams do operas again next year. I love it. Absolutely love it. All right, on to number 2. So this is my exception. Okay, so every single season on my season's best list, I have made one exception for one team or one single skater who just had 2 really phenomenal programs, and they both made my list. So last season it was Deanna and Max. Both their short and free skates made my list. And then my first year, it was Jason Brown. Both of his programs made my list. Now, in both of those cases, they were 1 and 2. Here with Alicia and Misha, they are number 2 and number 5. So they don't go 1 and 2, but still, I just thought they were both really fantastic. If I had to pick one, it would have been their free skate, which is number 2 here on my list. Obviously, big fan of it, but I just felt like both of their programs this season were worthy of recognition. This program is so good. I mean, it's a piece of music we've heard a million times. It's not one that I feel like it's overused to the point of like where we hear Carmen or Rain in My Black Eyes or pieces like that, right? But it's something we're very familiar with. And I think it's one that can be hard to live up to or get excited about unless it's done really, really well, like this one is. And it just sets that tone just like right at the beginning with that early choreography. She just looks like she's born to be a pair skater in this program. He lifts her with such ease. Nothing ever looks like it takes effort, except for her side-by-side jumps from time to time. But this is another great example, like Danny and Ellie's short program, where even when they make mistakes, it doesn't really take away from the quality of the program, because their 2 best performances of this was at Nationals and at Worlds. Both of those, she didn't have perfect side-by-side jumps. Now at Nationals, they were as close as we get really with Alicia, but they still had, some little issues with her side-by-side jumps in both of those, and it's still just such a powerful performance. The dance style lift that they do after the triple loop and the choreo sequence is just really, really lovely. She has such great positions on her lift. I love her extension. I love the entry and exit out their death spiral. I've been gushing over that just all season, as well as her overall position in that. They look at each other a lot, which is what sets them apart from a team like Pereira and Musho, or some of the non-Russian but Russian team, the Hungarians, the Georgians that I pick on a lot. You can see that they have just gelled so quickly. Like, you just go ahead and make me president of their fan club. I'm such a huge fan of them. I love the last minute of their program. The part where they run together, that last throw. There's just this legit elevation in their program that almost no one else accomplishes outside of the program that's number 1. Has that kind of build up. And it's one of those programs that just created a really special moment this season. And it really stood out even going back to Skate America when they were able to get on the podium there. But like I said, those two performances that they had at Nationals and at Worlds were also just really special. And of course at Worlds, coming from the Skating Club of Boston, skating in Boston at their home skating club with the pictures of those victims from the flight crash was just really all really, really special. I mean, they had their pictures in the Kiss and Cry at Four Continents also, but I just really, really loved this program. And it's another one that I think them and their choreographer, Renee Roca, just has a really good understanding of how to really bring out the best of this team. And I'm excited to see what they have next season as well. So that leaves one program. And you probably had a good idea who it was because this program stood out the very first time I saw it at Nebelhorn, and it has just maintained that position really all season. And that is Minerva Hassi and Aikita Volodin of Germany, and this is their free skate to Four Seasons. And how many Four Seasons programs have we seen over the years? Like a million in every discipline. They're such iconic but very widely used pieces of music, especially in the era before we had music with lyrics in them. We heard Four Seasons a lot. Part of what stands out from this is that they use kind of like that epic version of Four Seasons by London Music Works. And so it gives the program a different texture than your standard Four Seasons programs because it brings this drama that we don't typically get in the more classical piece and more classical arrangement of Summer, which is a very, very, again, used piece of music. Typically you hear Summer and you hear kind of like the same suite of music from Winter. Those are the two that you hear a lot. But this program is just so stunning in that final moments. It has some great moments before it gets there. But once that epic score kicks in, it just kind of goes to a different level. The final lift is, of course, just epic. That final throw that they do is also really good. It just sort of brings up the intensity of the program when you do those lifts much later versus when you do them earlier in the program, like a lot of teams do. I think it's what sort of helped sell Deanne Maxa's Interview with the Vampire program last season, having that last lift very late on into the program. Now, it didn't help their Blue Planet piece this season, so it matters, the choreography and the music and all of the entire packaging around it. But for them, it worked so much. Now, there are two versions of this program. Love both of them. My favorite version is still the version that they debuted at Nebelhorn. After Nebelhorn, they had to change their music. And the first song is very different in the new version, which is more classic Four Seasons music than the first version. So if you haven't seen the first version, you can look it up on YouTube and find the Nebelhorn version. There's this throw to silence that I loved in that first version. And it was just so cool. Again, what sells this program is the last song and that last minute of choreography, and that didn't change between either version. But I just love that first version so much. But again, this program gave me chills at the beginning of the season. I thought it was so fantastic, really all season. Their worst performance of it was probably sadly at Worlds, where they just had that itty bitty mistake on that final lift that they do so well. Although now that I've seen multiple versions of it, in preparing for this podcast, I almost feel like it's unnecessary to do that last turn that they did, even though it made the lift so epic for it to go on for so long. Now that I watch it, I see that it's really not at its like perfect best, those turns that they do on the end of that. But again, I'm totally nitpicking with the information that I have when they fell out of it at Worlds. But it's just such a masterpiece of a program, and it's number one. All right. Before I close out this podcast, I'm going to rank what I feel like were the top teams in pair skating this season. So at number 1, I actually have Hassi and Volodin at number 1. No, they did not win Worlds, they basically won everything else this year. They won Grand Prix final, they won Europeans, they won the free program at Worlds. And I feel like just over the course of the season, they were the strongest team. And so they beat out Manur and Aikita for me, who I have at number 2. Number 3 was very easy, and that's Conti and Masci of Italy. They really have been the team that wasn't quite on the level of Manur and Aikita or Hassi and Volodin. They did get a win over Hassi and Volodin at one of the Grand Prix, where Hassi and Volodin had a mistake in their step sequence and ended up losing the short program to them, and Conti and Masci had a strong enough free skate to hold them off. But overall, they really just rebounded so much after last season's big disappointment, and I put them at number 3. Number 4, I put Melchikina and Burlava of Georgia. I just felt like over the course of the season, they were more consistent than Deanna and Max, who I have at number 5. While Deanna and Max had a more successful Grand Prix, they really didn't skate their best in the Grand Prix. They just ended up the weakest fields, which makes sense because they came in as the number 1 seed into the Grand Prix. But with the weakest fields, they really didn't skate their best. And once we saw them at Worlds and at Grand Prix final against some of these other teams, they just didn't skate their best, unfortunately, this season. But still in the top 5. Rounding out the top 10, I put Ephamova and Mitrofanov at 6 and Cam and OShea at 7. You could easily switch these teams either way you wanted. Obviously, Cam and OShea had the more successful fall. They made Grand Prix final. They medaled in both of their Grand Prix. Ephamova and Mitrofanov just missed out of medaling in their second Grand Prix because they fell out of a lift. Otherwise, they also would have medaled at both of their Grand Prix. And Cam and OShea did beat them at 4 continents. But at the 2 events that mattered the most that they went head-to-head, which was Worlds and Nationals, Ephamova and Mitrofanov did come out on top. Obviously, Cam and OShea beat them at Skate America. Like I said, you could do a toss-up, but I think because Ephamova and Mitrofanov beat them at the 2 biggest competitions that they were at, I gave them the nod over Cam and OShea. Next, I have Pavlova and Shevchenko, which they did not have their best season. They did not make Grand Prix final. They did not do their best at Worlds or Europeans. It was a weird season for them. At times, I questioned whether or not they were injured, did not like either of their programs, and I just felt like this was a real step down. I had a lot of expectations coming into the season for them because they had done so well the previous year. They usually are very strong technically. We just did not see them at their technical best this season. And we'll see if they can bounce back next year. 9, I have Anastasia Vapanla and Luke Digby. And this was just a career year for them, from that huge moment that they had at Skate America to doing as well as they did at Europeans and at Worlds. They were worthy of a top 10 finish for me at the end of the season. And at number 10, I put Leah Pereira and Trip Mushaw of Canada. They were really up and down. But there wasn't really another team that I would slot here. I mean, this is a place that you thought you might see Hawk and Kunkel. They had a very uneven year. Gilardi and Ambrosini had a really tough season and didn't skate particularly well. And so Pereira and Mushaw just gave me a little bit more signs of life, like at 4 continents and at Canadian Nationals. Unfortunately, didn't have a top 10 finish at Worlds like they had the previous 2 years, and didn't do their best in the Grand Prix either. But I think out of the rest of the teams, I would put them ahead of Goloveva and Giotopoulos Moore, who we didn't see all in the fall because they had an injury. A team like Ganesh and Chigarev from Uzbekistan, who kind of came off, a Russian team that came out of nowhere really, and, did okay, but, just didn't really knock my socks off at any point this season either. Didn't particularly have a great performance at Worlds. So yeah, Leah and Trent get into the top 10 narrowly over some of our other teams. Ultimately, I think as a pair season, I went back and listened to my Grand Prix assignments episode today, and I was so excited for the pairs matchups that we had going into the Grand Prix. And of course, it didn't quite pan out like we wanted, because one of the teams I was looking forward to the most was Chinese pair team, Ping and Wang. And of course, they broke up and we didn't get to see them this year. And that was disappointing. And then I was hoping to have, a kind of a breakout year for our Australian peer team. And unfortunately, they were injured. And I think just never really were able to sort of get back. And it was a disappointing year for Chan and Hao. And so there were, unfortunately, some of those matchups that I was so excited to see. Deanne and Max didn't do as well as they did this year. Leah and Trent had a really tough fall. And so didn't really materialize quite the same way that I was hoping for. I think that we did have, pretty decent Europeans. I think Worlds, especially the free skate, was really great for a lot of teams. And of course, the news came out last week that the Russian pair team of Mishina and Galyamov, who are the reigning Olympic bronze medalist and also former world champions, will not be at the Olympics. Now, I know that Stepanova and Buchan, who were rejected as an ice dance team, which shouldn't have really surprised the Russian team, but apparently it did, are appealing. I don't know if I'm assuming that Anastasia and Misha will be doing that as well. Don't know what that process will look like, but as of right now, there is no Russian pair team that's going to be in qualifying or at the Olympics. And so that's really going to open up a world of possibilities in both of those areas. And so now we can really look at these teams as like, okay, one of these teams is going to be Olympic champion, and not thinking it's, potentially going to be the Russian team we haven't seen in 4 years. So it's going to be really exciting because I expect to see a revived Deanna and Max next season. Mira and Kihara obviously are going to come with a lot of confidence. I think if we thought Minerva Ihasi had her eye on that prize this season, could you imagine next season? Definitely. I think we're going to continue to see improvements out of Melchikova and Buralava. There is a Kazakhstan pair team that got released from Russia. I have no idea what they look like exactly, but I expect that they'll at least, be somewhat in the mix if they have any inklings of a typical Russian pair team at least. Excited for Plazas and Fernandez coming back for the U.S. and what that competition is going to be like, trying to make fill three Olympic pair spots potentially, if they get that qualifying spot, which looks even better now. All right. So I said after Worlds that I would be doing a career retrospective on Sui and Han because Hong Kong had officially retired, even though Sui Wenjing is coming back. However, Hong Kong was recently photographed with the Chinese team, and there are rumors that they were not happy with the progress that Sui Wenjing was making with her new partner, and that he has been coaxed or forced out of retirement. I don't know if that's the case or not. So therefore, my retrospective is a little bit up in the air because I don't really want to do a retrospective on a team that has been unretired. So I will be doing Shoma Uno's career retrospective first. And if it's true that Sui and Han are coming back as a pair, then I will hold off on doing that career look back and I will do somebody else instead. I'll make a decision on that. And if it looks like, okay, no, he's just taking a picture with the team because he's part of the coaching team, then I will continue to do it. So just stay tuned for that. At this point, I'm like, there may not be a Chinese team at qualifying either. Who knows? We'll see. All right. As always, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. I've got one more season's best list left to do. That is the women, and that will be out somewhere between the next 24 hours and a week. Whenever I get the time to record it, I'm almost done with my list, I think. But every time I say that, I ended up watching like 20 more routines and making other decisions. So we'll see. All right. You can find me on all the socials at Ice Skate Podcast. I always love to hear what some of your favorite routines were. So you can send me a line on any of those social media platforms, as well as leave a comment on the video. I'm very close to 500 subscribers on YouTube. So if you have not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, if you could do that, that helps me out tremendously. I would greatly appreciate it. And in the meantime, enjoy your week. Enjoy some of these past routines from skating, and I'll be back soon.